I'm Iris Wilbur-Glick, Louisville Forum president, and welcome to our October meeting. We typically meet on the second Wednesday of each month at Vincenzo's restaurant in downtown Louisville, and all are welcome. Founded in 1984, the Louisville Forum is a nonpartisan public issues group that hosts debates and discussions of contemporary and sometimes controversial public policy issues that affect the greater Louisville community. For more information on the Louisville Forum, our programs, or to make a reservation, please visit louisvilleforum.org. Today's program, a conversation with Mayor Craig Greenberg and LMPD Chief Jacquelyn Gwinn-Villaroel. Over the years, our city has had several discussions about public safety, its contributing factors, socioeconomic challenges, and calls for all types of policy reforms, many of which we have hosted right here at Louisville Forum. I'm not going to go into data talking points about violent crime or some of the challenges. We'll kind of reserve that for our speakers today. But instead, I'd like to challenge all of you, our guests, our audience, to think of how we can all work together to support ideas that advance improved public safety in Louisville. How do we work with our local and state officials? What are the good things happening within public safety initiatives here in Louisville that we should all walk away with today and be proud to promote? And what are the major challenges and specific solutions our leaders here are seeking, and how can we know more about that and rally support? First up, Mayor Craig Greenberg was sworn into office on January 2nd of this year. He's a father, husband, entrepreneur, attorney. He helped launch and lead 21C Museum Hotels and a former board member of U of L and Republic Bank. He is the co-owner of the Ohio Valley Wrestling entity. He's a graduate of JCPS, University of Michigan, and Harvard Law School. LMPD Chief Gwinn-Villaroel became LMPD's interim chief back in January of this year. After the city conducted a national search, she became our Louisville permanent LMPD chief in July. A couple of initiatives just so far, and I'm just going to name a couple, include non-fatal shooting squad and the implementation of the Stop the Violence community outreach program. And so we'll hope to learn more about some of the other initiatives under her leadership. The chief first joined our city back in 2021 as the department's deputy chief. She began her law enforcement career at the Atlanta Police Department, serving up through the ranks, starting out as patrol and then topping her tenure at APD as a major. In addition to an impressive lifelong career in law enforcement, she is a wife, mother, and founder and senior pastor of Unstoppable Praise Ministries. Please join me in welcoming our guests. So, before we jump into it, reminder for the audience, there's question slips at your table. Please fill them out and hold them up. We'll collect them. And so, Mayor?
Well, good afternoon, everyone. It is wonderful to be with you all here today at the Louisville Forum, the most efficiently run lunch organization in the city, as well as the most informative. And I would be remiss, since we're talking about my co-ownership of Ohio Valley Wrestling, if I didn't also tell on the chief a little bit. She happens to be a giant professional wrestling fan. So you've learned something already today about the chief that you probably didn't know. I also want to say hello and acknowledge some of my fellow elected officials that I see in the room here today. My good friend David Nicholson is with us. David, Jarena Withers, our still relatively new Commonwealth attorney. A couple of colleagues from Louisville Metro Council, Councilman Ben Reno Weber and Councilman, you get your own applause, Ben.
Yeah, right?
And Councilman Tony Piagentini. And a couple other mayors from Jefferson County as well. Mayor Bonnie Young and Mayor Rick Tanini are here as well. All of us, I think, when we run for office, we have big goals for what we want to accomplish. And while sometimes those change once you get in office, for me, 9 months in, they have not. I am as focused as ever on big, bold, transformational changes for our city today as I was when I first thought of running for this office several years ago. And we are working hard every day to make our city safer, stronger, and healthier. We have bold, ambitious plans that we just released a couple weeks ago on affordable housing to build 15,000 new affordable housing units across our entire city. Affordable housing in every neighborhood, not just in other people's neighborhood. We're at the tail end of an economic development stakeholders group session where we've been getting feedback from people across the city. And before the holidays, we'll be unveiling our economic development action plan for what we are going to do to really improve Louisville's economy and give opportunities for everyone for the next decade. And we have an early learning action group already that's been working every other week to make universal pre-K a reality. These are just some of the goals that our administration is working towards every day. But none of these goals or any other goals are possible if we don't focus foremost on public safety, on ensuring that everyone in our city is safe and feels safe. And so the chief and I are proud to be here today and excited to be here today to talk to you about some of what our administration, about what our police department is doing to help make our city a safer city. Just to give a brief overview and not talk too long so we can get the questions, we're focused, in my mind, on 3 Ps. We're focused on prevention, on policing, and on policy. First, the absolute goal for all of us should be to prevent violent crime from happening in the first place. And so we are really focused on addressing the root causes of poverty through a lot of our investments that we're making in things like affordable housing, in greater investments than our city has ever seen before in parks and libraries and community centers, so teens and young adults have more opportunities to places to go and be enriched and not to make some of the wrong choices. We just came from a great beam ceremony where the Norton West Louisville Hospital is under construction right now because that's addressing some of the medical inequities in our city. We need to have strong partnerships with JCPS so that they can fulfill their vision of improving the quality of education, the infrastructure of our public education system for every child in our city. You heard about our plans for universal pre-K because research is clear that when children start their education earlier, they will lead safer lives, healthier lives, they will have more opportunities for success the earlier they start their education. And finally, we're reinvigorating a program called Group Violence Intervention, which has proven across the country that when it's done right, can truly help reduce the amount of violent crime in our city by working personally with youths, primarily young males, that are most at risk of becoming part of a gang or another group that leads to a life of violent crime. All of those things are critical for us to do to prevent violent crime from happening. And of course, one of the most important partners in working on that is the police department. And so the chief will talk more specifically about what we're doing, but we are very focused. Our goal is to have the best police department in America, one that is the best trained, the most trusted, and the most transparent. And the chief and I are working hard every day towards that goal. We took a giant step forward yesterday when, along with several other folks in this room, we had the grand opening of the Summit Wellness Center, the first of its kind in the country, an innovative, amazing model where now police officers and other first responders have a great place to provide for and support their physical and mental health. Because given the challenges of the job that they're doing every day, working in our neighborhoods, working on community policing to help prevent crime from happening, they need our support. And this wellness center is one giant step forward that the United States Department of Justice has already told us is truly a national model. And finally, policy. There is a lot that our administration, that the police department, that the nonprofits and businesses and other organizations and people that you all in this room represent can do here in Louisville if we work together. We can do a lot, but we need more help. We need help from the Kentucky General Assembly to truly make our city safer. And so at 1:30 today, I'm going to be announcing our administration's policy agenda for when the General Assembly reconvenes in January. And a big focus on that is going to be asking for help to make our city safer. Year to date, we have 130 people in Louisville that are a victim of homicide. We have over 300 people, in addition to that, that are victims of shootings but have survived. That is over 400, far too many gun violent crimes that have happened in our city that we want to help reduce. And so we will continue to focus on prevention. We will continue to support our police department to prevent crime from happening and to catch those and hold accountable those who commit violent crimes. But we cannot continue to keep talking about reducing the gun violence epidemic in our city if we don't get serious about guns as well. And so that's why at 1:30 today, and many times you've heard me say it before and I will continue to say it again, we need help from our General Assembly. At a minimum, give us some local autonomy so we here in Louisville can make our own decisions about how we want to reduce the unique urban violence epidemic that we're dealing with right now. We'll also be asking for more support for our police department. We'll also be asking for a very narrowly tailored wiretapping law. Kentucky is one of only 4 states in the country that doesn't have a state wiretapping law to give us the ability to address the gang violence that is the cause of about 30% of the homicides that we're seeing in our state. And finally, the other area when it comes to partnerships is we need help from the judicial branch of government as well. There is a lot we can do in the executive branch that we're talking about, but we need our judges to also be helpful, to acknowledge this violent crime epidemic and to hold those accountable responsible. And if you are an individual who is going to use a gun for the wrong reason and use it to cause harm to others, to use it to kill other people, you should be held accountable. I am not someone who believes that locking more people up is our path to safety. But I do believe that if you use a gun to harm others, your punishment should be measured in years and not in months. And so we need our friends in the judicial branch to provide some help as well. That is a lot, but that is what we have to be focused on every day. And that's why we thank you all for coming, and the chief and I hope to enlist your support and your help as we work to implement all of these things to make our city safer, stronger, and healthier. Thank you all very much.
I don't know if I should come behind the mayor with all that. My God, I should have sat in the middle. All right. Well, good afternoon. It's so good to be with you all today and to have these conversations and to be in the room of such great leadership. And the energy is crazy good here in the city of Louisville, our city of Louisville. How about that? So I'm so super excited about that. And make sure I get my lunch. I'm looking at you all eating after I finish. So my top priorities as chief of police for Louisville is to ensure that everybody understands that violent crime is my number one tackle, my number one priority. Everyone within our great city has the right, and I stress that, the right and deserve to be safe in the city of Louisville. We have the opportunity within our city to actually reshape the dynamic that people have the perception that they cannot go downtown. We want to come and dispel that today at this luncheon. It is safe, media recorded, it is safe to come downtown. That is my number one priority. Priority is fighting this violent crime because we are in a position now that we must tackle and go after those violent offenders who continuously want to prey on the most vulnerable, the ones that cannot protect themselves. We are the ones that need to ensure that everybody can actually go to church, go to the grocery store, go to the gas station, and actually leave there the same way they showed up. That is what we're committed in doing. What does that look like? That looks like making sure that the council, and I'm appreciative of the council supporting this, and the mayor as well, continues that additional funding for our DNA International Lab. Councilman, I need your support. That funding, yeah, I'm begging right now, that funding is needed because we're seeing a great leap in our clearance rates with our homicide. We're bringing justice and closure to families who have been waiting a long time. We're going after those individuals that are still out here on our streets, and we're doing it the right way. We're policing the right way. So having that funding for our DNA International Lab has been tremendous. We have gone from 21% in clearance rate, and I'm happy to say, to 48% clearance rate for our homicides. That is more victims and more families having closure to the ones that can no longer speak. And with that, when we're fighting violent crime, we were able to get funded, and I thank you, Mayor, and I thank for the councilman again, the council people again. They funded the great program, but now I have 25 dedicated LMPD officers, which includes a lieutenant and a sergeant who are able to go inside JCPS schools and teach gang-resistant training to our children between the ages of 8 and 14. That is what LMPD is doing. We're saying we're not waiting in order for something else, some magical pill to happen and be produced. We're actually on the front line. And then every other week, we have started Stop the Violence campaign within our most vulnerable areas. So every other week, we're at a vicinity that have shown an increase in violent crime, and we're out there giving away things to the community, but also teaching them how to be safe. Engaging our young people, giving them a balloon and letting them know that the police, you can actually trust us and actually be friends with us. That is what we're doing. We're actually going inside of the community, and it is working, and I'm thankful for that. But my next initiative is strengthening the community and the trust that has been broken. That has been broken. Our job is to strengthen that. Our job now is to ensure that we're in the communities and we're actually hearing the community and understanding the trauma that they feel, but also too for the community to understand the trauma that our law enforcement has experienced as well. We're having those critical conversations. We have established conversations and cuts where now we're going into the barbershops and we're going into other locations, and now the community is able to come in and actually hear some of the issues that are on the table and walk away with some solutions. That is what we're doing. And Mayor, I'm sorry to tell you on the spot, but I have signed up our agency for the International Association of Chiefs of Police that now we have joined the Trust Building campaign. That'll be a nationally wide campaign.
That's great.
For the Louisville Police Department. Now we have trust building initiatives that we will be measured by for Louisville, and that we will keep that standard. This is a national level. But also too, we're sustaining our Chief Advisory Council, where we have young people that are coming in and they're actually speaking with us and having the conversation, and we're hearing them, guess what, sometimes for the first time. And now we're doing this. My next initiative, as we all know, is making sure that recruitment and retention is at top of mind. We are recruiting strongly. We've gotten funding now for more digital marketing in our recruitment effort, but I cannot forget about the retention of our officers, keeping those on the police department. So there are other things that we're discussing now in order to ensure that we do not lose those great officers that want to continue to serve our great community. I'm happy to say that those individuals wanting to leave our department has tremendously slowed down. And so that is the first that we've had in a very, very long time. And then the last, we're looking at our technology, and we're grateful that we're expanding our technology to ensure that we're using those particular devices and mechanisms to help us fight crime, but also to eliminate for officers being in a space that may impact the community. We're doing it the right way. We're doing it the right way. So our flock cameras and LPRs, they're now in place, and our shot spotter, that now we're able to move in a manner that is progressive and ensuring that LMPD understands the need to protect and serve in the constitutional manner. Thank you.
Thank you both. And again, a reminder, if you have questions for our speakers for our panel today, please fill out the card and wave them, and we'll come by and collect them as soon as we can. I'm going to go ahead and jump into a couple of questions now. So, question for either response here. Status of the consent decree. And for those of us in the audience who may not be too familiar with sort of the technical components of what that actually means, that the federal oversight, some of the resources that we may or may not be able to take advantage of, can you kind of share maybe just a little bit of where we're at and where we're expecting to go with the federal consent decree?
Yeah, this is a pretty short answer. I think, as everyone probably remembers, earlier this year in March, the U.S. Attorney General and others came to town, and we announced that following a several years long initiative that predates both the chief and me, that we had reached an agreement in principle with the United States Department of Justice that we would negotiate and enter into a consent decree with the Department of Justice regarding how the police department and Louisville Metro government moves forward. Since that time, we do not yet have a draft of the consent decree. So there really is no update yet. I can't give you an update on timing or anything like that because we have not yet even seen a first draft. We have regular communication with the Department of Justice. It is in their court. We're not even 100% sure why that is, but that's the status right now. Once we do get that, it will take some time, our guess, unless it's a perfect first draft, which I highly doubt, to negotiate that consent decree where we are willing to sign it, and we are willing to live up to everything that's in that consent decree. But as you've heard from the chief, we are not waiting. We're taking action. We know there are steps that need to be taken to reform and improve LMPD. And so the chief is leading that effort from training to everything else she just spoke about. We are not waiting. We're taking action.
Thank you. Well said, Mayor. Our policies and we're following best practices. We must be in a posture of ensuring that our officers understand what their job entails and support them in the effort. And so whether the draft comes out next week, LMPD is already moving towards being the best department in the nation.
Great. I'm going to shift gears just a bit. And Chief, you mentioned one initiative specifically related to gang-resistant trainings with JCPS. We'd love to learn more about what the coordination is like under your leadership between the department and JCPS, certainly in light of some challenges that I know the district is facing regarding bus stops and disruptions from that in and out of the school. So if you could share sort of maybe some strategies and initiatives beyond that, the gang-resistant training.
Our relationship with JCPS is well. We meet on a somewhat annual basis, quarterly basis, and we have these very transparent conversations. What can we do better to support you, JCPS, and vice versa? And so some of the hiccups I would like to call, like anything else that we may experience, they're called growing pains. You're having two entities trying to come together and work together to try to figure this out for the betterment of our children. And so at the end of the day, whatever support that we're able to give to JCPS, and which we have, as far as their training is concerned with their public safety administrators, we've provided that. The intelligence that is needed from us to give to them, and then vice versa, it is there. The great training, that is just another layer to say LMPD is a partner of JCPS because it matters. Those same children that go to school are the same children that are in the community. There's no difference. So again, we must be on the same page to have a better and a healthier community.
And for those who don't know, JCPS now has its own police department. And so I think it was about a month ago or so, they announced their new chief of police for that police department. And so our chief and that chief have had a chance to figure out how to even strengthen things further. And so I think you'll see an even stronger relationship moving forward.
And just to follow up, Mayor, what's the coordination like maybe between you and Superintendent, Dr. Polio on issues related to public safety? Obviously, we're seeing, some concerning trends regarding youth-involved violent crime. Can you kind of speak to that and maybe some of the work that needs to be done to address those challenges?
So Dr. Polio and I have a wonderful relationship. We talk regularly. We meet regularly. I'm a strong supporter of his and Jefferson County Public Schools. And another thing the legislature can really do to help out JCPS is to fully fund increases for teachers' pay, increases pay for bus drivers as well. Yeah. That is what we need to. But we also talk about this issue of safety. And so figuring out ways, as the chief mentioned, that we can learn if there's intelligence to be learned from school to help prevent crime from happening in the first place, or if a crime happens and people are talking about it at school the next day, we need to continue to build that trust so we get that information and can act on it. But also what we talk about a lot is that it's not just in school, and maybe that might be JCPS's responsibility, but we have kids at bus stops. We have kids that are walking to school. We have kids that are doing things after school. And so that's all of our responsibility. And so we need to ensure that when kids are at the bus stop, they're safe. I think it was just a couple of year and a half or so ago that there was a shooting at a bus stop. That should not happen in Louisville, Kentucky. And so one of the things that we have in our budget that was supported by the folks here is more street lights, so we can ensure that we can start making sure all bus stops are well lit. These are the types of things that we're focused on and that we have conversations about to act on with JCPS.
So there's been a couple of mentions already about engagement, support, lobbying of local and state officials. And so, Chief, I'll actually start with you. I'm not sure if it was part of your job description that you be chief lobbyist of LMPD, but
okay.
Can you kind of share sort of what your experience has been so far, and what are your relationships like with local and state policymakers?
For the most part, it's really good. It's strong. So we're in again, the mayor and myself, we're in a unique position now. We're coming in and we're open. We're open. We're ready to sit at a table. We're ready to hear the concerns, and we're ready to share our concerns. And I think you just have a different posture. And so again, we are working well with our legislators, and things, again, like as the mayor has presented, I'm hopeful that it will be supported and that it will get passed. And so that's the difference in the relationship. And with LMPD, we are now wanting to ensure that we create and foster better relationships. We cannot be in a silo. Those days are over, because guess what? It didn't benefit us one at all. So again, this is a new way of looking at your LMPD, understanding that we are trying to rebrand ourselves. We're trying to position ourselves in a manner that you know and you feel that we are part of the community and we're working on your behalf. And we need your support likewise.
Just to give a couple examples to piggyback on what the chief said, I mean, we truly believe there is a wonderful opportunity for collaboration in Frankfort, more so than there has been in at least a decade for our entire city. And we've already started working with folks on both sides of the aisle who are key people in Frankfort. The governor and the chief convened a meeting not too long ago with all the other chiefs of police from Jefferson County. There are, I believe, 19 police departments within Jefferson County. And so the governor and the chief had a great meeting that we all attended to talk about how we could collaborate together and then also with the state. The chief and I have met with the Democratic leadership of the General Assembly, Senate and House, and the Republican leadership. We've met with members of the Democratic representatives from Jefferson County and Republican to talk about the same things that we're talking about here today.
And to kind of add to that, Mayor, recently, a couple weeks ago, Louisville House Republicans released a multi-point plan specific to public safety. You've already sort of talked about components, regarding sentencing, the wiretapping issue. Do you have any other sort of comments? And I don't want to steal the thunder of your 1:30 presser, but any other sort of additional thoughts, or now that we've had time as a community to review those proposals, anything you'd like to add or to comment on?
Yeah, I think that the couple of items that I said I do support in there, one was the state wiretapping law. Kentucky, as I mentioned, is one of only 4 states that doesn't have that. Young people who are committing crimes are talking a lot about it on their phones. They're posting a lot, they're texting, they're Snapchatting. And so we need more tools if we are truly going to crack down on some of the gang violence that is plaguing particularly certain neighborhoods in our city. We need some more tools to help and not have to rely just on our federal friends, federal resources and agencies. So that is one area of agreement. I do agree as well that we should make carjacking its own crime as well in the criminal statutes. But there are areas of disagreement as well. And I think you'll hear about some of that today. I mean, one of the biggest areas of disagreement might be as to what you do specifically about gun violence. Are there things you can do about the guns themselves, or is it just geared towards people? That is an area, I believe, of disagreement. My view is that's okay if we have disagreements. We should both state why we think we should advocate for the positions that we believe will make positive improvements in our life, whether it's public safety or someone else. And let's work on the things we can work on together. And if we don't agree on everything, let's not let that get in the way of making positive, impactful progress, particularly when it comes to public safety and other people's lives.
So final question for me, and then we'll turn it over to our board members. Thank you, Elizabeth, and thank you, Lawrence, for collecting those. So final question for me. So what's your response? This question's for both here. What's your response to the notion that police should be or should not be social workers? Thoughts?
We never wanted to be social workers. Let me say that. For 26 years in policing, we never wanted to be social workers, but who was going to do it? That's the question. Who was going to do it? Because in a time of crisis, when the 911 call came in, I was the only person present. So we did not have the other additional resources. And for one point in time, mental health was on the back burner because it was taboo to even mention it, to even think about it, that it was something that we needed to deal with. So again, we had to put ourselves in that position to render some sort of care. So guess what? We had to figure it out. But law enforcement never wanted to be in that role because we knew that that was not our expertise, but someone had to render some sort of care for the individual in distress. And I'm so grateful that we're now in 2023, we're in a space that now we're talking about, and we have embraced having social workers and co-responders going to these locations to assist those in mental distress. That is wonderful, and that is needed. And we applaud it, and we want more, and we want it to be sustained. Whatever funding is needed, I'm putting a plug for somebody, I don't know, but whatever funding, is needed, please, because the citizens need it, and they require it because there are so many individuals that are going through such mental turmoil that we as law enforcement can address it, but those that have the expertise and the time and the care and the patience, they can. And at the end of the day, we're saving a life. We're saving a life.
I totally agree with everything the chief said. The only thing I will add is that with respect to the chief was referring to our new 911 deflection program, where if you call 911 and it's not a violent crime crisis, but someone is having a mental health crisis, we now have this partnership where you will get on the phone with a mental health professional, and it can be provided either over the phone, or if you need direct services in person, that will come to you as well. But we can better serve those who are in need with mental health crises. Our biggest challenge in expanding that program, there's some funding the city has made available. There's certainly opportunities for Medicaid reimbursement of more as well. Our biggest challenge is we need more mental health professionals in our city. Just like we need more police officers, we need more nurses, we need more teachers, we also need more mental health professionals. And so if you all encourage people to choose one of those 4 professions, that would make a positive impact on our city for years to come.
Thank you both. So we'll go ahead and turn it over to audience questions. Lawrence?
Thanks again for both of you for being here. This first question is for the chief, although, Mayor, you can weigh in as well on this if you like. There's been talk of adding a state police post in Louisville. Would that be helpful to LMPD?
I would take any additional law enforcement presence. I can't speak to what their role will be, but coming into the city of Louisville, I'm hoping that it will not distract or take away from other duties around the state, but having another additional show of presence within our city is fine with me. The mayor may think a little bit different on that, I'm not sure, but whatever role they can help support us in, then I'm willing to accept that, because again, at the end of the day, any law enforcement official that is coming in our city and operating and so forth, we're just hoping that, and I know that KSP is, hoping that they're just doing the same way of policing that we're doing, and that is constitutional policing, doing it the right way. And that's what I support, and that's my position on that one.
We have a great partnership with KSP, as you just heard the chief talk about, on large event days like Thunder over Louisville, the Kentucky Derby. The Kentucky State Police is a great partner. We released a couple of months ago our new approach to officer-involved shootings, where we are now releasing body camera footage within 10 business days of one of those unfortunate events happening. And at the end of that process, the file is turned over from the chief to the Kentucky State Police to review that file. So we have a great partnership with them already. They are strained for resources just like LMPD is. They're looking for more officers. There are parts of our state that rely on KSP to be their police department. So my suggestion to the legislature is provide some more funding for local police departments like LMPD so that KSP can continue focus on its mission around the entire state, but we have a great partnership with them that we value.
Absolutely.
Elizabeth?
Can you discuss what, if anything, is planned in the works for reducing the homelessness crisis facing particularly downtown?
Sure. This is a critical issue. This is an issue of public safety in reality and in perception. Many people don't feel safe if you're not able to. If you are a family who's staying at the Ronald McDonald House because your kids are getting treatment at Norton Hospital and you cannot walk that 2 blocks to your medical appointment to see a doctor for your child in need without walking into the roadway under a dark overpass because individuals are camping on that sidewalk, you don't feel safe. So we are taking a two-pronged approach to this. First, we are investing in a community care campus, which is an innovative model just south of Broadway, east of I-65, where we are investing in services and shelter to provide more than what the community currently provides to individuals who are in need. We have been doing an RFP process. We're on the tail end of that, and we've gotten some great feedback from other social service and healthcare providers that want to be the city's partner to provide more services and shelter to those in need. And we owe it as a community to individuals who are experiencing the trauma of homelessness, that are in all likelihood struggling with mental health issues, with addiction issues, to provide them with more services. And so we are going to continue to invest in that project and in other service organizations that are supporting our homeless population. At the same time, everyone who is not homeless has a right to safe and healthy streets, safe and healthy parks, safe and healthy public spaces. And so we are very focused on ensuring that everyone in this room, everyone who works downtown, everyone who lives in South Louisville, everyone who lives in any part of the city can enjoy all of their public spaces in a healthy manner, safely, and in a clean manner. And so we are very focused on both of those things at the same time. I think hopefully some of you have seen a positive improvement here in downtown. We know this is not just a downtown issue, though. This is all across the city, and we are very focused on that, working in partnership with LMPD, with Public Health, with Public Works, and many others throughout Louisville Metro government and partner organizations to address this issue and to ensure not only that it doesn't get worse, that it gets better for those who are in need.
This is for the mayor, and this is kind of a show me question, I guess. It asks, what metrics do you personally review and how often, I assume this is pertaining to crime, demonstrate to us that you are actually managing outcomes and improvement?
Every morning, the first email that I look at in the morning is the overnight significant activities report, a report that is generated by the overnight officers for LMPD that talks about the crime that happened the previous night. The best mornings, which are far too infrequent, are when there's no attachment. It doesn't often happen. The worst mornings are when there's a homicide. 130 mornings since I've been mayor, I've woken up to a report that talks about one or more homicides that's happened the night before. My first and foremost focus every day that I am mayor is on public safety and reducing the amount of gun violence. The only time my day starts earlier than looking at that email is if the chief calls me in the middle of the night. That's happened as well. Both of us and our entire administration, every one of our deputy mayors, regardless of what their title is, every one of the department directors for every one of our 30-plus departments in Louisville Metro government knows that none of us can achieve those accomplishments that we want for our city if we don't have a safer city. And so this is our primary focus.
We had a couple of questions about whether it would be possible to increase visibility of police both downtown and in other heavily trafficked areas like Bardstown Road.
So that's a balancing act within itself. And so we are truly aggressively trying to hire and onboard more police officers. But let me preface that, the right police officers. We're not hiring just anybody that just woke up and decided this is what I want to do, because our city deserves better than that. And so we're doing some truly strong screening to make sure we have the right candidate. And so there's a balancing act within that. Yes, everybody across the city wants more officers within their respective areas. And so we're looking at our staffing to ensure that we're placing individuals where they need to be and where the need is greater. In those spaces where our violent crime is. And I'm truly happy that we have, I see Rebecca here, ambassadors that have come on board that can assist LMPD in the downtown space. But I wish that I'm able to have this snap my fingers and have 300 more officers just spread across the city. But right now, I don't have that luxury of doing that. So we're balancing where we're placing our officers so that everybody can receive quality service. And so I would encourage everybody in this room as well, like I go everywhere and speak, help us recruit. Help us spread the word to join LMPD to make this city better. I need your help in those efforts as we try to make all those adjustments across the city with staffing and putting the right officers in the right areas and actually building up some of those divisions that have been lacking with officers. But we're doing much better. It's going to take time. It's going to take a lot of effort from our department, but also too, I'm encouraging the community to join me in this effort and doing some really strong, heavy recruiting so we can get our numbers up within our department. So yes, but you should be seeing in downtown area. I told my mounted patrol individuals, I just don't need to see you on parade or event days. I need to see those horses walking downtown as much as possible, because we feed them quite well. Yeah, we do. Yes, we do. And then now we're in a position of trying to get bikes and new bikes for the DAP officers, so you see them riding more. You should be seeing them riding more, and ATVs in these certain areas. So you should be seeing that. And how about this? Our officers across the city are doing now more foot patrol than they've ever done. And also, too, we have our first Meet Your Beat officer. That'll be in the 6th Division on October, Yolanda? 28th. That's the first. Wake up, Yolanda. So that's another initiative we're doing. So now we're not waiting for the community to say, I don't see my officer. Guess what? Now we're creating a space that now you can come in and meet your beat officer. So now we can engage one another and begin to put faces and names and streets together, and so you can have a better officer that's serving your community. So that's what LMPD is doing. I'm excited.
That's what it's all about. As the chief said, we need more officers to truly accomplish that goal. And so what we're doing in the meantime is to address it. We know people want to see more police on the street, to engage with them more, to engage in community policing. And so the ambassadors help. In one way, we're trying some pilot programs. Councilman Reno Weber and Councilman Owen funded a recent pilot project along Bardstown Road, where we paid for some overtime for officers to address some unique issues that were happening on part of Bardstown Road. We saw positive results there, but with the staffing that we have right now, we are doing all that we can. One of the things that the chief and I are in the middle of doing right now is there are 8 divisions of LMPD throughout the county. We are meeting with all 8 divisions. We're going to their roll calls in the morning and in the evening. And we're thanking them for their support, but we're mostly listening. We're mostly listening to what they need to be more effective, to do their jobs the way they want to do it, the way the community wants them to do it, and also to answer any questions that they have. And we're hopeful, everyone wants to be paid more. We get that, every one of us in all of our jobs. And so we're working on that, and we continue to work on that. We're advocating at the state level to reinstate defined benefit pension plans for all first responders, not just police departments. We think that would be an amazing retention tool. But beyond money, what are the other things that we can do to continue to show our support? Because in addition to money, everybody wants to know they're supported by the people who lead their organization and supported by the community that they serve. And so that's one of the many reasons why we're currently going and meeting with all of the divisions throughout LMPD.
A couple of questions on this directed to Mayor Greenberg. What are your thoughts on the HB 314 Commission's recommendations, especially on nonpartisan council and mayor elections and changes in EMS services?
So on the first issue, I'll let the General Assembly make the decision on how we operate here in Louisville. I think we've got some amazing representatives here on Metro Council, and I think our administration has showed that people can work together in a bipartisan way, that it isn't just about party when you're dealing with public safety, when you're dealing with affordable housing, when you're dealing about parks. It is about providing services, amenities, a quality of life to people, and we'll let Washington, D.C. argue about all of the traditional issues. But on the issue of the EMS service, I understand that when merger was implemented 20 years ago, we still have a lot of different forms of government and public agencies throughout our entire city. We have multiple fire departments, now many of which provide EMS services as well. And my view on whether it's EMS or any service, everyone in Louisville has the right to high-quality government services. And so our focus should be on not more government, but on better government. And that's what our administration is focused on. We have an it's very complicated, but we have, depending on where you live, you pay different local taxes. If you live right next door to Vincenzo's here, you're in what's called the Urban Service District, which is the old city of Louisville, and you pay an extra tax. And in exchange for that, you get certain things, like the city picks up your trash. If you live in Councilman Piagentini's district, you don't pay the Urban Service District. You have to pay separately to have your trash picked up by a private provider. That sort of similar analogy is what is part of what's being talked about with respect to EMS services. We need more EMTs. We need more ambulance drivers. We are focused on improving our services. We're focused on doing a better job of getting reimbursement from Medicaid, from Medicare, from private insurers so that we have more funds at city government to provide even better services. But we also can't forget that we're all Louisville. And if we continue to focus on things that divide us, on where you're from in the city, where you live, do you live in J-Town or Anchorage or Pleasure Ridge Park or Portland? If we're so focused on just that and we're using that to divide us, we can never be one city. Regardless of where you live, I firmly believe that we need a strong downtown. We need a strong central business district. We need a strong waterfront park. There are some things that might only happen in one part of the city, but they benefit the entire city. So my focus in my conversation with folks in the General Assembly is let's focus on the things that bring us together and unite us, not on things that divide us.
A question for the chief. How can we as a community help support you and LMPD, and how can you help heal and build broken relationships?
Oh, great. That's an awesome question. So let me say this. This right here helps me. Having this forum, having you all here and engage and listening with a sense of urgency that we are truly one Louisville, as the mayor has stated. This gives me support. This gives support to the men and women that serve you every day. But allowing them to hear it. It is time now for everybody within this room and outside of this room now to be vocal in your support for your officers who are out here putting their life on the line every single day, who leave their homes knowing that there is a chance that they will not return. That happens to everybody that is in law enforcement every single day. They need to hear it. They need to hear when you pass by, I support you, and you can just keep walking. They need to see little notes that you can leave at the division. Just leave a box of sticky notes or something, just write on there, I support you. We love LMPD. That's what we need to hear now. That support, that love, that energy to say that I want you to be successful in your job every day. But another thing that I must actually state to right now, if there's an incident that does happen, and guess what? It's not if, but when. I need for everybody in this room to allow me to address that concern, but also to give us grace. Give us grace to manage that situation and to do better and to learn from it and to move forward and for the healing process to begin. So how do we heal? We heal by having these forums. How do we heal? We heal by actually continues to have those critical conversations within the community and not shy away from it, actually hearing the woes and the concerns of community members who have a concern with the police because they know the history of policing and they want you to acknowledge it. That's how we heal. That's how we move forward. But also to understanding that if I'm actually bringing a problem to you, hear it for what it is, I hear you, and then now let's walk away with a solution. So again, our efforts and being consistent with our efforts and ensuring that we're just not doing something just to check the box, but now LMPD, I'm putting them on notice, and they know this, you are community. And now community, I want you to understand that we are your community. That's how you can help us.
This is also for the chief. Bardstown Road, North Highlands have experienced increases in crime, including homicides. Police district reports the causes are gangs, drugs, guns. Can you comment on that and the county-wide homicide problem?
All right, so let me acknowledge this, and I'm just really, I'm pleased that we're in a space now that everybody can recognize we got a gang problem. Because right? Because at one point, we were shying away from it. At one point, we were being dismissive. We had a blind eye to it. Oh, it's not happening here in Louisville. Guess what? Newsflash, it is. And so with acknowledgement, then you're able to do better and tackle that particular challenge that is facing our city. I'm happy to say that LMPD, every single day, we are going after gang members, and we are successfully dismantling them, along with our federal partners. We have great partnership with ATF, FBI, DEA, all alike, and we are doing just that. We're ensuring that our investigations are right and that they're solid and that they are being followed through to conviction. So that is one. And so within the Bardstown Road area, again, that is some heavy, restaurants and clubs there and so forth. That nightlife, we're now making sure that with the assistance, and I thank the mayor for this, making sure that ABC is joining with us on another level in order to enforce those infractions within that space. That works. Everybody is being held accountable for their job, and the mayor makes sure he holds our feet to the fire. And so again, we're making some inroads in that manner. But again, it's gonna come on LMPD as well to keep messaging it, that we want a safe city, and those that do not desire that, we will address your infractions the right way.
This is a follow-up to Mayor, your earlier statements about the consent decree. Will you add community members to the negotiations?
This is driven by the Department of Justice. We have had a lot of listening sessions. We have gotten a lot of public feedback from the community on all the issues that the chief and I have been talking about today. We've done it in person. We've done it online. We've done it privately. We've done it publicly. The Department of Justice has had their own listening sessions. The Department of Justice has made clear the negotiations are between the mayor's office on behalf of the city with council and the Department of Justice. We will continue to listen. We will continue to learn. We are wide open for all sorts of input, but I don't think that's going to help the result of the process.
Okay, we have time for one more question. Lawrence, go ahead.
This questioner wants to know more, Mayor, about your anti-poverty agenda, specifically how we as a city can pay people a living wage as a prevention policy for anti-violence.
Say that one more time, Payne.
This question apparently wants to know about paying people a living wage as a way to combat poverty and violence.
I totally agree. I mean, I think I've been a strong proponent of paying folks prevailing wages. I am a strong supporter of my friends in the organized labor community that are advocating for good wages and good benefits and a strong future. I think that provides a win-win environment, both for people who are working for companies and for the companies themselves. When it comes to jobs, we need to focus on more good jobs for people all across our city. Right now, that's our biggest challenge, is we need more good jobs here in Louisville, and we need to work with workforce development organizations, everyone from Kentuckiana Works to Louisville Urban League, and many others, Code Louisville. There are private sector companies like Interap that do this, and many others, so that people, not everyone has to go to a four-year college to be successful in life. The world has changed. And so there are great paying jobs with good career path opportunities that can then lead people to owning their own business right out of high school. You can learn a trade, you can learn how to code, you can start getting involved in the healthcare industry. There are so many ways to have good paying career path jobs. We need to make sure our kids are aware of it. We need to be recruiting businesses to locate here. We need to help entrepreneurs grow their businesses here. All of this is going to be a big focus of our economic development action plan, because it needs to ensure that everyone in Louisville, not just business owners, not just people who are currently working right now, but everyone in Louisville, regardless of where you live, regardless of what circumstances of life you were born into, you have a wonderful opportunity to succeed here in Louisville. And so that is going to be a big focus of ours. At the same time, when it comes to addressing poverty, that's a huge driver of our affordable housing plan. We have a bold goal to build 15,000 new affordable housing units over the next several years. We continue to support, as you heard, mental health, other healthcare initiatives that we need. When it comes to the food deserts in our city, we need to work to ensure that we address that. And Metro Council has allocated some money for that. It's, I think, frustrating to all of us that that hasn't happened yet. We need to make that happen so people have access to fresh, affordable, high-quality foods. All of these things need to be done in concert with one another to help those who are living on the least amount of money these days. I think that is an important part of every elected official's job, to help address those who are living in poverty right now.
On behalf of Louisville Forum, thank you both for joining us today.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. So, all right. Thank you all. Thank you so much. And thank you for joining us today. Mark your calendars for our next meeting, be held on Wednesday, November 8th. You heard that right. It's the day after election. And with that, we're going to host a panel to break down the election results, impacts to policymaking, and then preview the 2024 election cycle. For more information, visit our website, louisvilleforum.org. And we hope you all have a great day. Thanks again.